Right, the fifth topic uh, will be about changing cities. Now, this is a topic with a 6-mark question. We'll talk about that in a bit. But cities, urban areas, they use 75% of the Earth's resources but only take up 2% of the Earth's surface, and they produce 75% of the Earth's waste. All cities have what we call an eco footprint, and an eco footprint is an area of land that is needed to sustain and keep a city going. So it's the amount of land that a city uses to get all its resources, so it's food, it's transport, but it's also the amount of land that's used to dump all its waste. You put all that together, and that's an eco footprint. The environment is what we call a source for cities. That's where we get everything that we need. But the local environment is also a sink for our resources. And that's not just land. Waste is not just what we put in our bins. The outputs, our waste, is also things like pollution, carbon dioxide, methane. It doesn't just go in land. An eco footprint is also the amount of the atmosphere that a city needs to put all that stuff into it. So yeah, you put all that together, that's an eco footprint, and eco footprints vary from place to place, depending on how big the city is. But countries also have eco footprints, individuals also have eco footprints as well. Now, using London as an example of a changing urban area, inputs for London: food, water, energy, people. Outputs are the waste and things that are produced in factories in London. It's getting bigger. It currently produces approaching 10% of all the money made in the whole of Britain. It's GDP, and London depends on a global network supply. It brings things in from all over the world. It didn't used to be the case. It used to be the case 150 years ago that London's supply network and the amount of land that London used to keep itself going was a lot more local. It was just, say, the southeast of England. Now, in terms of London's waste, 27 million tonnes a year. Most of it goes on landfill, big rubbish tips basically. The biggest one is in Essex, which takes 20% of all of London's waste. Other than landfill, London also gets rid of some of its waste via incineration, burning it in a big burning factory basically. It's a lot cheaper than landfill, it's a lot safer. It does produce CO2 in the burning process, but as part of that burning process you can also produce energy from it, for electricity. How do we reduce the eco footprints of urban areas then? Bedzed was the example that we looked at, an example of an eco-town not far from school. It's a community that was built on a brownfield site. It uses materials in the housing that retain heat. It uses renewable energy. It's carbon neutral. It doesn't produce any CO2. Uses low energy lighting, good insulation. It's well served by public transport, so people don't have to use cars. Have a look back through your notes about Bedzed, just to make sure that you are familiar with the key parts of it. Different ways that cities can also reduce their eco footprint, not just through housing like in Bedzed, but through transport. Transport is a big problem in urban areas, particularly in London, and things that London has done to try and reduce its eco footprint are things like the congestion charge and Boris bikes. We've got some key facts there. As part of your revision, just find out a little bit more about each scheme and add those to your notes. Reducing eco footprints in terms of the food that we eat. Food miles is the amount of distance that food has travelled to get to us. So if you go to a supermarket, you'll find fruit, vegetables and stuff that haven't been produced here in Britain. They've been produced in other countries. And in order for that food to get to us, it needs to go on a plane. That produces itself pollution, carbon dioxide, which just adds to the eco footprint of the city. So ways of reducing food miles. Things like going, for instance, to farmers markets and locally produced food. They have their pros, they have their cons, good points and bad points. Other things you could do is grow your own food, for instance, have an allotment, things like that. Now, as I said at the start, this topic will have a 6-mark question. Do not forget, it is not 1.1 mark. You need to use examples. You need to make sure that your spelling and everything is absolutely bang on. Here's the mark scheme for the 6-mark questions. You're all aiming for a level 3, 5 to 6 marks. It needs to be structured. You need to use at least 3 examples described and explained in detail. Make sure that you make clear what your chosen location is. For this question, it will be London. Make sure your spelling's right. Make sure that your punctuation is right as well. Simple thing to remember is slapkev. Okay, spelling, location, answer. Don't waffle. Don't write things that the question hasn't asked you to write. Just answer the question. Use your punctuation properly. Key terms. Make sure that you understand what the key terms in the question mean. Make sure that you're using your examples, and make sure in your answer you're using geographical vocabulary.